Oh, hey there, everyone. It's David Barnett from investlocalbook.com, the blog site and YouTube channel where I talk about buying and selling small businesses. I talk about managing small businesses, local investing, and anything else that you guys ever ask me about. Today, I'm lucky I've got a guest on, Sarah Mullins, who I met at an event in Halifax a few weeks ago. Sarah's an HR specialist. And Sarah, we want to talk about managing HR issues when people buy and sell businesses. But first, I just wanted to get an idea of what it is you do every day with most of your clients, because I've had clients that I've mentored before ask me questions about hiring and firing and things like that. And one of the things that I always say to them is you need to talk with someone who's a specialist in this area, because employment law in a lot of jurisdictions is very old and has its own little peculiarities. I'm wondering if you can give us a little idea of what you do day to day to help other people, and then we'll get into some of the special issues around mergers and acquisitions.
Certainly. Thank you, David. So I own a company called UpTree HR. We're an HR consulting firm, and we focus on helping small business owners implement practical yet still people-centric human resource practices, because that's what's important to small businesses. They're watching the bottom line. So a lot of my clients would come to me for expertise on the hiring process, strategy around hiring either the first employees or the first few employees. It could be policy development, it could be performance management, or the ever dreaded termination, where, as you said, that's where the real legal side comes into play as to what you can and cannot do. So I really and truly believe that we can go through those types of steps in the employment process, caring for employees, generally caring about their well-being, create the culture that you want, and not break the bank at the same time.
Okay, so how did you develop your specific expertise in helping with employee issues during a transition when a company is purchased or merged with another one?
Well, it was really by accident. It wasn't something I intentionally got into. So, about, I guess, in my late 20s, I was working for a really successful, large, well-known company that frankly just didn't treat their employees very well. So it wasn't very satisfying from an HR perspective. So I decided to make a move, even though people thought I was nuts. And I joined a small company, less than 100 people, very unknown at the time, and had only really been around less than a year. So it was a real big risk for me. And the fun part was I realized on my first day that they were starting to acquire businesses. And 6 weeks into the new assignment, we actually doubled in size. And that was the first acquisition. That was my first exposure to acquisitions. And it was really kind of trial by fire. Then over the next decade with this company, I was the HR lead on 14 successful acquisitions. And so we grew from this kind of small little company based out of a small city to a national organization that went coast to coast. So it was very exciting to kind of get involved with that experience. And that also included not only us acquiring other companies, but in the middle there, somewheres in the middle there, we were actually acquired by another larger organization. So I've seen it from both sides.
Well, that's really cool. There's a lot of real practical hands-on experience. What are some of the issues that come into play for everyday people doing their jobs and worrying about their careers when they're involved in this kind of transaction as employees?
It really kind of boils down to three major concerns that come up. So the first one is obviously job security. That's the first concern on anyone's mind is job security. So it's is there going to be job loss? Will my job be affected? And what happens to me after the fact? So supporting your employees through that transition. The second is kind of money, I guess. People are worried about the perks, their perks that are associated with their jobs, their compensation, their bonuses, their benefit plans. Are they going to stay whole? I once had an employee. It's funny because you really have to do your homework on these things. I once had an employee who we were onboarding, and his total compensation was going to be increasing by about $5,000. But he was upset because we were no longer going to offer him a 15% discount card at the local clothing retailer. And this was, and it took me hours sitting down with this guy to explain, you're getting a $2,000 bonus. Your benefit plan is adding $1,000 to your total compensation. You're going to have, an investment plan that you never had before, a pension plan. But no, he wanted this $15 discount card, and we almost lost him because of it. It was interesting, but I was able to retain him. So people, they get
So,
really sticky with those types of things.
so when you're going into one of these projects, because obviously when you're in a business that's acquiring another business, you're going to be on the team that's making the purchase. So you know that this transaction is coming up. What kind of things do you look for or try to put into place to get yourself ready for those new people that are, in a lot of cases, it's going to be news to them that they're suddenly joining up with you, right? Because employees are one of the groups that we often keep things secret from when there's a transaction like this.
Sure.
There.
It's all about the due diligence. It really is. It's finding out as much information before the transaction as possible. So I personally, I have a due diligence checklist that in Excel is multiple pages long, and I encourage all my clients to do that. And I can help folks out with that if need be, because I've been through it enough. After 14 acquisitions, there was something learned every time, so I know what to look for. But it's doing your due diligence so that when the time does come to communicate to employees, you know what to expect, you know what their concerns are going to be, and you know what the variances are. Also, through the due diligence stage, you're also going to be looking at things like the financial impact to your organization. Will it cost more to bring these employees on? I had a scenario once where we were onboarding or integrating 150 employees from a newly acquired company, and the cost of bringing them from their current plan onto our plan was going to cost us $750,000 per year. So that was significant. We almost didn't buy the company because of that, and that was something that I was able to find during that due diligence process. You
Okay,
also want to look
so
at.
Sarah, let's discuss that a little bit, because the value of a business you're going to buy is related to the cash flow associated with that business. So what you're talking about is a company that was in a certain industry, probably doing a similar thing that your company did,
Yep.
but they were able to get away with paying people less money. So their profit was higher. And then when you took a look in the due diligence at this company being acquired, you said, whoa, it's not going to be as profitable once we own it, because these people are going to expect the same compensation plan that we're already offering our employees.
Sure.
So quite literally, making the acquisition was actually anti-synergistic. You would have made the new company less profitable in your acquisition.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it wasn't just base salaries. So we don't change people's base salaries, or I typically don't when you're moving into an acquisition. It was the other things, like our benefit package was much richer. Our bonus plan, we had an investment portfolio where the company matched their contributions. So for instance, they had an RSP plan where the company put in $20 per pay. Well, we're not going to do that with our employees. We had a really rich employer matching plan. So those types of things is what increase the total value proposition.
Okay. So if somebody's going into the process today, if I was going to be buying a business today, and let's say it was a rather small business, let's say it was my first acquisition. So I have a job I hate, and I've been looking for a business to buy, and I find a business and there's like 8 employees there or something, and I'm going to be buying that business. What kind of things should I be thinking about on that really small level when I'm doing my due diligence, trying to learn about this company, and I may not even be able to talk to the employees yet until the transaction is finalized?
Mm-hmm. So hopefully you have a good relationship with the owner of the company, and you can get as much information as possible. The farther down you can go, if it's the owner or whether it's the person that is managing the employees directly, the closer to the front line that you can get to gather information, the better. Because if you don't, there's always going to be missing data. So whether it be how they schedule their lunches, it's silly stuff sometimes. but the farther down you can dig, the better. So, but you do want to do as much due diligence as possible. Look also at any possible liability that may be out there. So, is there any outstanding litigation? Did they terminate someone when they shouldn't have? Was there a human rights complaint? What's their safety record? And does their poor safety record impact their insurance rates? So there are a lot of things that you just have to kind of weed through. And most of the time, 90% of the time, maybe, most of those things are okay, but just one of them can wreck a deal or make you regret the deal after the fact.
Oh yeah, wow. So if somebody is in a position where they need HR help, but they're not big enough to afford a full-time HR practitioner in their company, that's basically your business today. You help fill that role, is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I come in, I'm kind of the outside inside HR support for small businesses. And yeah, when these kind of questions come up, I can come in on a temporary basis and just kind of fill that slot. And most of my clients find that it's a lot easier to bring someone in the front end and get your ducks in a row and get things right the first time than deal with the litigation on the back end. Because once you go to court, you don't know how much you're going to be paying.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that once, lawyers are involved and that kind of thing, costs can really escalate if something's happened wrong, like you said, especially in a case where you're trying to terminate someone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Sarah, where do you do business in the world, and how can people reach you if they're interested in learning more?
So I'm based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Primarily, from an employment law perspective, my expertise is across Canada because I have practiced employee relations in every province in Canada. So when I get into the US and international clients, I may not have the expertise from a legal standpoint, but I can still walk through that acquisition integration process because the risk and liability is the same wherever you go, and the people expect the same wherever you go. So, I'm familiar with cultures of different countries and can certainly help out in that respect.
Okay, and people can learn more at uptreehr.ca.
.ca, yeah, uptreehr.ca. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So follow me there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sarah, for joining me today, because this is the HR specific issues relating to an acquisition of a business is something that I really haven't addressed yet in my blog or on my YouTube channel. So when I met you at that event in Halifax, it really piqued my interest because I knew that there would probably be people who would be interested in what you had to say. And then, of course, anyone who hasn't already been should go visit my blog site at investlocalbook.com, where they can sign up for my weekly email and get videos like this one every Friday, 3 days before they go public for everyone else. And with that, Sarah, I'll say thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks, David.
All right. Bye-bye.